A massive global effort has not been able to prove that cancer is caused by mutations in one or more genes. Now we know why. Gene mutations simply do not have the power to cause cancer. Equally important, normal cells and cancer cells have the same genes. However, unlike normal cells, cancer cells always have unbalanced chromosomes. This explains the failure of the 6-decade-old war on cancer that was, and regrettably still is, focused on cancer genes that don't exist. Old habits die hard. The good news is a growing number of young researchers are looking elsewhere for the causes of cancer. The preliminaries are over. The time has come to talk about what cancer really is. We'll start with the obvious. Occasionally, a very few of the 100 trillion cells that make up our body stop being normal and become something very different. Cancer results when a few of these abnormal cells invade normal tissues. That pretty much sums it up, but says nothing about how it happens. In a nutshell, cancer is a disease of the chromosomes. To be specific, an imbalance in the number of chromosomes leads to cancer and ultimately to all its manifestations. Let's step back a moment and talk about how normal cells turn into different normal cells. The 100 trillion cells of an adult can be divided into about 200 different types that carry out all the functions of the highly coordinated organs and tissues of the body. I emphasize again that the different types of normal cells still have the same genes and balanced chromosomes. Science does not have a clue as to how cells, all of which have the same genes, turn into the myriad of tissues and organs that work in harmony together. The most we can do for now is to describe what happens. All humans start with a single fertilized egg or ovum. The fertilized egg divides in the mother's womb to produce the embryo between the 1st and 8th week of development. All of the cells have the same genes and a balanced number of chromosomes, 23 from the mother and 23 from the father, for a total of 46 chromosomes. During the embryonic period, cells begin to take on different functions. The brain, heart, lungs, internal organs, arms, and legs begin to form. After the 8th week, the embryo becomes a fetus. The fetal stage of development is where the organs begin to function in preparation for life after birth. The whole process is best described as miraculous. It is a mystery of the first order. But we're beginning to glimpse a ghostly outline of how the cells may accomplish this miracle. It's much too early to know if it's real or just a mirage. While it's beyond our ability to comprehend even the rudiments of development differentiation, sometimes it's possible to understand how it goes wrong, in this case cancer. In 1890, David Hansemann observed unbalanced chromosomes in all of the cancers that he examined. In 1914, Theodore Boveri published a detailed theory of how the unbalanced chromosomes cause cancer. But 2 world wars and Boveri's death in 1915 delayed the further development of his ideas until the end of the century. In the 1920s, Avon Winge in Denmark independently came to the same conclusion as Boveri when each of the 80 cancers he examined had different numbers of chromosomes. Unfortunately, others did not follow up on his work. George Papanicolaou of Pap smear fame was the second to rediscover the chromosomal basis of cancer. His invention, the cervical Pap smear, is based on the observation that excess chromosomes make the nuclei of cancer cells much larger than the nuclei of normal cells. To his dismay, it took more than a decade for the Pap smear to become generally available. Aside from the Pap smear, few scientists know that Papanicolaou discovered the quantitative chromosomal basis of cancer. This was the third missed opportunity to understand what cancer really is. Professor Peter Duesberg and I are the latest to revive the chromosomal theory of cancer and have been considerably more successful than our predecessors. Since 1996, we have been constructing the theoretical and experimental proof of the chromosomal theory of cancer. We and others have successfully applied our theory to all of the major unanswered questions about cancer. We have hosted 3 very successful international conferences on the chromosomal imbalance theory of cancer that included both the clinical and scientific aspects. In part 2 of What Cancer Really Is, I will talk about chromosomal instability. It is the key to understanding cancer. Without chromosomal instability, there is no cancer, no metastasis, and no drug resistance.